Right now, I'm 46 years old. And if I could go back and prepare my 30-year-old self for life in her mid-40s, this is what I would tell her. But hang on a sec, because I think for this conversation, we need to grab a cup of tea. You see, I've been going through a thing, and maybe you have too. What? We have no plans? You see, I've been going through a thing, and maybe you are too, and maybe you did. And if that's the case, you probably know what I'm talking about. There are many wise women in the community of this channel, so I get the feeling you guys are already on to me. And as I've been navigating my mid-40s, I found myself trying to survive it. And now I'm working consciously to turn it into more of a navigation sort of situation through this phase of life. See, I started to notice change round about, I don't know, summer before last. I was waking up in the morning with little to no desire to do anything, to get up, to move. I simply lacked desire. I just had no motivation to move forward. And for the life of me, I couldn't figure out why. And I was like, gee, am I depressed? I couldn't understand it. And I couldn't find a reason to feel that way, or a reason for the feeling, or lack thereof, lack of feeling, And it really bothered me because I truly hated this feeling, or not feeling. And the only reason I got up is because I have 4 beautiful little people waiting on me every day that I have to take care of. So I did what I had to do.
Actually, 3 people.
Okay.
Or if you're including Ethan, you would be.
Exactly. So I started searching for answers to figure out why I felt the way I did, because I couldn't just accept that I felt this way for no reason. And what I discovered was perimenopause. Now, I always knew about menopause. I remember as a teenager, my mom and her friends always liked making jokes about hot flashes and stuff like that. And I got some basic general education about it, as in high school in health class. But what I didn't know was that there were stages, and I didn't realize how much more there was to it. And finally, I was able to put it all together with other things that were going on as to what I was experiencing. And that completed the picture. And now there's a helicopter. So here is, by no means an exhaustive list of things I wish I knew before I turned 40. And stick around until the end, where I'll share some resources that I found very, very helpful. All right, let's head back over to the couch. Is that balanced? Let's see. I think that's good. Okay, now I think we're set. Got some notes, so I don't forget anything. Because there's probably so much more that I'm not even including on this list. But, I don't want to wear away your patience. So, here we go. 10 brutal truths as the plane passes over. Number 1, perimenopause is like the Fight Club of womanhood. You know what to say about Fight Club. First rule of Fight Club: we don't talk about Fight Club. But that is not working. That just doesn't work. The problem is you kind of feel like you're losing your mind a bit in a vacuum. And it's just you in your head kind of going, what's going on? And that doesn't work, and that's no good, Because nobody I know, not even my mom, talked about the fact that it's a transition. We only kind of knew about the end. That there could be this entire 10-year period. Could be that long. I don't think it is for everyone. Where, things are going on and you're just not even ready for them. So, realizing that this first rule of Fight Club is just hurting us and not helping. So what's the lesson here? Definitely break the silence. Talking to friends, talking to your partner. I tried to talk to my partner. We'll get into that in a second. But bringing it into the light removes the isolation. And then all of a sudden people are going, oh yeah, me too. And you're like, oh, geez, I'm not the only bonkers one here. That's always good to know. So the second thing I would bring up, speaking of partners, is that the partner is not a mind reader. Although we really, really wish they were. God knows I do. Not even really a lip reader or really even a listen to what I'm saying and absorb what you've heard kind of situation. So really speaking these things out loud is very important. I tried the whole sitting down and talking about what's going on, which was a little bit helpful. I've sent many Instagram reels, humorous and educational on the subject to kind of reinforce what we've talked about. But I think it's definitely better to have an explanation than to be left guessing what's going on. Like, if I'm annoyed with you for no apparent reason, at least you understand why. There is an apparent reason, and it's probably a tiny, tiny thing that I need not be annoyed about, but so we all understand we're all on the same page. And if you're lucky, it'll go from, what's wrong with you to how can I help? Okay, number 3. This one's a fun one for me. The burn it all down kind of mood swings. Oh boy. So that was never really a thing for me. Even like with, what's the word? Oh, geez, words. But anyway, point is, it was never really so much of a thing for me. But now that feeling of wanting to kind of burn everything down for a little inconvenience is sort of a thing to contend with. And now knowing where that comes from, first of all, gives me much relief because I'm like, why am I so ticked off? But additionally, gives me more opportunity to pause, which I think I was reasonably good with before, but knowing that gives me the opportunity to practice even more, to pause and think before I speak. I think that awareness alone is very, very important and helpful. The fourth thing for me is realizing that the solo walk is a non-negotiable. And I think probably other moms are better at this than me of spending time on their own, but bringing my partner, my husband, to the awareness that when I say I'm going for a walk and he's like, who are you taking? And I'm like, nobody. And he's like, oh. Now there's no discussion about it. It's just like, you taking somebody? Nope. And that's okay. Because this alone time and quiet time and, like the household can become very overwhelming, and the noise and the stimulation, and everybody needs something from you all at the same time, and demands and squabbles and all of that. And sometimes you just need to be like, boop, I gotta peace out. So needing that solitude to reset the nervous system, definitely a critical point, certainly for me. Okay, so another thing, I think we're at 5 at this point. The idea that hot flashes are the thing that signal menopause and perimenopause is like not the only thing, and not even something that you might even experience. I've so far had zero experience with, well, when I say zero, very little, and very minor when I have. I think it's just whenever I've like eaten junk food, then I have like sensations of my temperature going off. But waiting for that symptom to like validate my experience is not useful, because everyone experiences things a little bit differently, and that might not even be a part of what you experience. The lesson for me is definitely realizing that there are dozens of indicators like anxiety. Other things we're going to talk about in just a second. Being aware of these makes it easier to identify and realize that feeling off, which can comprise of so many things, is already a reason to kind of look into things. So listen to your body, not the stereotypes. So this is a big one for me. Number 6, sleep is no longer a guarantee. Not that as a mom, it ever really was. You know, you have babies, first of all, you're pregnant and you don't sleep well. Then you have babies and you don't sleep well. And you think, okay, they're gonna get older, they're gonna sleep on their own, and then I'm gonna go back to sleeping. You know, maybe even have kids younger so you get to teenagers and then they're sneaking out at night and you don't sleep well. But you think there's a point at which I get over this. But no, because sleep gets interrupted. And that was happening to me too. That was a couple of summers ago, where it's like, I wake up in the middle of the night and I don't go back to sleep. And it could be like for hours. And I was like, why? Why am I not sleeping? And I could listen to my husband snore and have a good night's sleep and everyone else have a good night's sleep while I had to come face fact with that me staying up late at night was just not a thing anymore. It is not working for me, because if I'm going to bed at midnight and waking up at 3 and not falling back asleep till 5, it's a very short night. And that's no good. But once I figured out that I need to go to bed early, that made a huge difference. So my rule has become, if the kids are asleep, I should be too. Although I'm not really implementing that rule. Because I find that really tough to pull off. To finish with them and then have everything clean and actually bathe and go to bed. But, you know, if I get to sleep by 10:30, I'm like, hallelujah, praise the Lord, a miracle has occurred. But midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., that's a no-go. That's no. So that leads right into number 7, Mommy Brain 2.0, the fog. Whew, just like sleep, you think that's gonna get better after you stop having little babies. The brain fog, you think that's also gonna get better because I'm going to be sleeping again and I'm not gonna be in La La Land. Except for that's not what happens. Well, at least that has not been my experience thus far. Forgetting words, losing focus. And there are days where the focus is great. And there are days where it's like I can't wrap my brain around more complex tasks that I have to like put off. And that is frustrating, to say the least. So discovering that there's this whole rabbit hole of like things that disrupt cognitive function, but also realizing that there's stuff that we can do about it. And so, you know, I will point to some resources at the end of this that I found very helpful. I mean, obviously making sleep a priority is a big part of that. Exercise, but it's good to know that, you know, not going cuckoo here. Just, you know, the brain needs a different fuel. I'm getting sleepy now. Let's drink some more tea. The next situation I'd want to deal with is the disappearing muscle act. So after years of starting and stopping with, you know, exercise, realizing that staying consistent throughout would have been my best bet, because building muscle after 40 becomes harder. And I think I understand that it's easier to maintain than it is to lose it and try and get it back. And with every additional decade of age, the muscle loss continues to accelerate. So keeping it there is certainly important. Building it up, go away plane. Building it up, if you don't have it, also very important. The good news is that it's not all lost. I've heard about perimenopause being this sort of like magic window in which to make changes so that, you know, going forward into the next several decades of life, God willing, you know, your health and fitness is in a much better place. I'm now realizing that it's much harder to regain strength at 45 than to maintain it, than to have maintained it from my 30s, 20s, and 30s. Staying consistent is very important. These things are medicine. And if you haven't started, the best time to have started was yesterday, but the next best time to start is now. All right, last couple of things. That being said, metabolism. Metabolism is definitely a moving target. Ho, ho, ho. If I knew then what I knew now. Ha, ha. Certainly eating the same way I did at 30, certainly at 20, is not gonna fly. Not gonna fly. Eating junk and wondering why my energy is crashing and why I feel like crap, you know, these are all things that we need to look into and investigate. And I came to understand that my body's ability to process carbs and build muscle have dramatically changed, and I need to shift how I eat and how I exercise. How we exercise also has to change, and certainly how I used to exercise in my 20s and 30s. And I'm still working on changing old habits so that our bodies can adapt well. That brings me to my final point, which is we are the captain of our ship. I was feeling like a victim of the change in my hormones, and I now realize that that need not be the case. I know I can't stop the changes that are occurring, but I do know that I can change how I respond to them. So we have to take the wheel, we have to do the research, we have to get the right resources, and we have to be not afraid to advocate for ourselves in the doctor's office. So I wanted to mention some resources. I picked up a couple of books that I found very helpful by Dr. Stacy Sims. And the first is Roar, which talks about matching your food and fitness to your unique female physiology for optimum performance. And the other one, it's called Next Level, which I enjoy very much because it's your guide to kicking ass, feeling great, and crushing goals through menopause and beyond. It's a great title. I found the information very helpful in those. I follow Stacy Sims, but there are plenty more. I would mention Dr. Vonda Wright and Dr. Rhonda Patrick. I'm gonna link those socials in the description and any others that come to my mind, because there are others, but I'm not thinking of it right now. Check out these amazing women who are doing great work so that we can have all the important information that we need so that we can make better choices for ourselves. God bless you. So, you know what? We're not crazy. Is that funny? We're not crazy. We're just changing. And you know what? We're gonna be okay.
That's funny.
See you soon.